But you see, what we're suggesting, I suppose, what science fiction and education is suggesting is that instead of just integrating subjects based on common themes within each of the lesson plans or each of the course descriptors, that we actually choose a subject. They chose science fiction and education because science fiction can be anything. It can be Lord of the Rings, it can be Star Wars or Star Trek, as the science fiction guru over here pointed out a few minutes ago. It can be any of those things.
Like
There's no
the engineering point of view, you can go for renewable energy, all that sort of stuff. You're on about, the doomsday thing, how to prevent it.
Yes.
What will happen, like Revolution on the telly at the minute, are you watching it?
Yeah.
Revolution, where bang, all the power is gone. All electron, it's just gone, and people are back to using swords and horses and carts and all of that stuff. Like there's the world of it.
Yeah, there's a great series I followed, The Walking Dead. Now it's very
very graphic.
However, like kids actually love it. They're big followers, but there's a lot of fantastic key moral, ethical themes. There's great science, biology, bacterial resistance and issues like that, antibiotic resistance, that kind of thing.
What's like that area? What do you call that movie? Area?
Just
very good.
Because you certainly get many science topics in there as well as a lot of.
Most of the zombie movies are based on kind of political themes where the zombies are kind of your everyday Joe, so it's not participating in how the life is run or the future is run. It's symbolism, the original zombie.
Romeo created on the black-white divide, racial. You first have black, in the original Night of the Living Dead.
Right. That was you said the kids love it. I automatically thought of Paul. Paul's particularly loves The Walking Dead.
You're on about that there, lost skills as well, like older skills about how to make something. Like you said with the power cut in the morning. Could you make a wheel for a car? Could you make
the metal work that's been lost?
Would you like a fire to buy with kettle?
All that. Can you build a snare?
Yeah, exactly. Could you survive?
There's a massive wealth of diverse information that we can get. Instead of trying to find in our art, science and computers, for example, a common theme, you're trying to put a round peg or a square peg into a round hole. What if we choose a common theme out of a science fiction movie?
That's how to embrace technology, but not forget that it can destroy it as well.
Exactly. I mean, we've just done the training, right? What have we learned from it? Simply, from my perspective, what we've learned is that integration is much easier if we find a common theme to do it. So if we can see, if we're teaching something in civic education, we can find a theme out of a movie or a TV show that people are interested in or have seen before. And we can incorporate that and thus build our subjects around that rather than trying to find common areas in the subject that are common to each of everyone else's subject areas. Any thoughts?
One of the things about it as well is that it immediately makes the students jump outside of thinking of it just as a subject. It moves their imaginations to somewhere else, which is always good. And when Margaret said about Lord of the Rings there, I immediately thought back to when I read something about it being connected to history and representing the world wars. It makes people think differently, which is always good.
Earlier in our discussion though, we talked about this, and we talked about the difference in teaching different age groups. That for younger people, you engage them first, and they might look at the film afterwards and you hopefully excite them about the literature or the film. In most cases, I think, probably that when you teach adults, as we do here, they often want to be informed first. They don't want to go, like I wanted to be today. I was out of my comfort zone because I felt I didn't know it first. So that you may get them then to read the literature or see the film and then use that into how it could be used, advanced for it. But you have to shape it to your class groups or to your audience, so that you have to be aware of who it is, and you have to change for every group that you're teaching it with.
I know, David, just Sci-Fi is on the children's name, Clive. That film is, and there's a lot of ethical issues involved in that film.
Yes, and have you've used it in class a bit?
I have used it in a school. I've done the film, but not specifically as a lot, it's more like a social, in the social context rather than the sci-fi.
Okay, yeah. But the resources still be used.
It's still there.
Has anyone else? I know myself and Sharon certainly have.
I use surrogates, that movie, to talk about, bring up the discussion about online identities and, you know, that type of thing. So
Yeah, I do the same with
yeah.
recall.
and then also when you get to the stage of just because you're using technology doesn't mean it's necessarily better. You know, this sort of drive, oh, we need to do.
It's Bruce Willis.
It's Bruce Willis, yeah. And how everyone has an avatar. It should be called avatar, but that was gone. So they call them surrogates, and it's just nobody left their homes because their surrogate was out living. But there was no crime, and there was no this.
And there was no risk of
Of course,
murder or any of those things because you were safely ensconced at home. And your
But then-
surrogate was outside
Yeah,
doing the job for you.
all the relationships started breaking down, and a lot of this started happening. So it was great. It was a fantastic discussion.
Sorry, Anne.
I had a student who for 2 years has been working on a project, and all of his stuff is derived from H.R. Geiger and Carnage and graphic art. I mean, it very strongly links into art clearly, but then you have the literacy issues, and literacy has always been brought into it because it's always going down the graphic novel route. And he's writing his own novel, like he's written his own comic.
Wow.
Yes, he's kind of taking characters that exist.
It's Warhammer sort of stuff. And is it
Kind of like that, yeah. I mean, which goes into the
Geiger
games.
did Aliens, and he also did Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh,
You
really?
know, all of the
Yeah.
spaceship, all the alien design,
Yeah.
all of that, that's all
Yeah,
Geiger.
that's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
teenagers.
Fabulous.
Yeah, he's very passionate about it.
The discussion we've had, and we're having at the minute, as short as it is, has it added anything to your arsenal, I suppose, as a teacher? Like, are there any of us in the room now afraid to try to incorporate science fiction? Had any of you ever even thought of it?
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I try to, show them that even if you're just exactly heating a bit of metal, see how it changes colour, and then you can go into teach them about atoms and all that kind of stuff. You can actually watch them moving along, and all that kind of stuff. And I'd say, well, if you remember when you were in school, you done science and you thought that was totally boring. There it is, there happening now in front of your eyes, and then they go, oh yeah, just kind of say, oh yeah, that was the boring thing that I thought I'd never see or never use, and to just get their curiosity, even just ticking over in a class is my aim. Just just to get them going, and then it's not like it's like the person who gets into the car in the morning and just turn the key, and I think that's all that the car is. It's just the key turns and it goes.
Yeah, until the key turns and nothing happens.
There's no actually concept of how everything's working, underneath them or whatever,
And you
just take everything for granted.
kind of thought process.
Yeah. Take everything for granted, and it should be there when I want it. So that's
perfect.
I could think that they should, curiosity in younger people should be encouraged.
And they really want to know as well. I found as well, because our students are doing an alternative program, that they kind of miss out on history and geography.
Yes.
That they really have a confused idea of time, distance, space, perspective, all of these
exactly.
things, So as well, when I started it, I looked at the big history project that's happening in America at the moment. Bill Gates is involved in it. And it's where you start with a big bang and you run a timeline right through to begin with, and we're like a couple of seconds on the clock. If you look onto the clock, we're a very small sector. For them to get that time concept of how long we've existed and how much we've evolved in that time, and then on the planet and everything else has existed, I had a hilarious time because I was told dinosaurs never existed, they were kid stories, what was I doing? So I was able to put all that perspective there, and then the size of us, and the size of our planet, and the size of our galaxy, the size of our solar system, these kind of concepts, they did actually say, you're hurting our heads, but half an hour later, great discussion. I mean, huge, and they wanted more. They were
It just makes the little bulb go.
It was like,
glimmering.
I'm this, but I'm this, you know what I mean? I have a big impact on the whole effect of everything, even though I'm a grain of sand on the beach. Or compared to the insects or whatever, if you're going down into some of those fantasy stories where there are minute little people who have their own alternative universe happening, I'm so huge, you know what I mean? So it's
Exactly, yeah.
I like the idea that what if question, sometimes I think that the students we teach, if you present the most extreme version of what can be, that they're more interested. I find
Yes,
this, certainly with biology, if you go, with the most hideous disease, they're much more interested,
Glorious disease possible.
Yeah, and science fiction fits in very well.
It does. I mean, yeah,
And I think,
which is great.
I think too, well, teacher you are, when something, you pick something.
You can.
He was the ethical nature
Yes.
of sci-fi, and that got me in.
We see I teach computer stuff.
Make
there's
people
a
get
world
the
of stuff.
technical end of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the mechanical side of things. Dilithium tubes. Do you know one of my favourite things to tell students is, do you know when you watch the original Star Trek, those of you who remember it?
yeah.
Whenever the doors open, it goes.
Yeah.
That sound effect was created by pulling a piece of paper, A4 paper, out of an envelope.
Yeah.
And there's somebody
There was somebody actually doing it. When you tell the kids that, like, whenever they hear oxygen and things on the telly, it's generally a load of coconuts.
Yeah, I think as well, one of the things that I came across when I was trying it out was 50% of young people really hate science fiction. They actually detest it with a vengeance, so that's a big barrier to cross with them to get them interested. So I was trying to tease out with them, why do they actually dislike it? And that was one of the reasons, because they're so used to CGI and perfect sound systems in movies. They, like we grew up with bad sound effects. If you watch the original Terminator again, which you probably still have in your brain as one of the best movies you ever saw, it sounds like it was filmed on somebody's tiny little walkie-talkie. There's an echoey, the sound is awful. The special effects are a big lump of metal stuck on his face with some putty going on, you know what I mean? And they see all of this, and that's what they were saying to me. The same way Jaws, I was going to call that movie terrifying me for years, and they were going, Sharon, it's dum, and a big, really badly made robot with bits of fishy flesh hanging on. You can see the metal on the side, and so they expect a lot. They expect that
Is it black and white?
Yeah, black and white.
I'm very conscious of
I use that, the solid gas liquid thing with you remember the liquid nitrogen when you smell?
Oh, yeah.
Got it straight away.
I'm very conscious of the time, and I know people have to be gone. Just back to the training. So, what do we consider to be the strengths of the training?
It's good to hear what the people are saying and what they're using.
Absolutely, the diversity of different tools.
Diversity of sci-fi itself.
Very good.
Training.
And there's less of a fear, I think, of using it. I mean, you don't have to be a sci-fi head to get involved. Agreed?
Yeah.
Super. Weaknesses or challenges in the training. I mean, the lack of time is a big one.
What Sharon said there is the kids' perception of it.
True. But the training specifically that we've done, I mean, there hasn't been enough time. I think we've all agreed it's been mentioned more than once. Right? Anyone else?
Teams, getting staff teams together, even though we would all be very enthusiastic, there's logistics and planning.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult for everyone to get together, isn't it? Then on to the toolkit. Now, I understand that we've only seen sort of hard copies of the toolkit. Is that an alarm or is that a phone?
It's the most annoying.
That is. That's what isn't it? Just while our technology, my dad still reckons mobile phones and stuff out of Star Trek, I got him 1 year ago that you could flip them on clamshell once. He hated it. I keep feeling like Scotty. I know we've only seen the toolkit in sort of abstract form. We haven't really used it as a weapon to bring to bear on our classes. But having seen the limited amount of it that you have seen over the last while, do you think it's a benefit? Do you think it could be a beneficial tool?
It could be beneficial if they back it up. Like
with what?
Money. Basically, there's nothing more as disappointment to a young person, older person, whatever it is. Say, right, we're going to do this. How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Tell me, and you're left there with a stick and a ruler or whatever.
Yeah. So having the resources to do this is important.
I think it's seeing how it will link it, like when it says that guidelines and ideas are incorporated into various education areas. So to see kind of practically on the ground how it could be used in your programs.
Absolutely.
Would be a big thing.
Well,
have you looked at the Irish Film Institute? They have packs for transition years for film online. I think if it was done something like that would be great.
Is that for creating film or for
No, that's for analysing film and discussions and focus groups, and it would have, Mean Creek was one that did very